Hi guys. Very often when you apply for a job in the UK, you will be asked to provide a cover letter. Now, if you're sitting outside the UK and watching this video and you're considering applying for a job in the UK, or if you've already begun the process of applying for a job in the UK, you know landing a job in the UK isn't the easiest thing. So you pretty much need all the help you can get. And that is exactly where your cover letter comes in. And someone said that you don't really always get a job because of your cover letter, but it ensures that you don't lose out on the job because of it. A lot of people ask me if they even need a cover letter to apply for jobs in the UK in the first place. Well, at the core of it, a cover letter is meant to introduce yourself, but when I mean introduce yourself, we're not talking about where you're from and what your name is and how old you are. To be very honest, none of that matters because most of the systems through which you apply for jobs, whether it's LinkedIn or something else, already gives the recruiter all of this information. So they're not looking for that in your cover letter. It's beyond that, it's much more than that. So keep in mind that every recruiter receives hundreds of emails every day, which means that they barely have seconds to glance through your cover letter. So you need to ensure that your cover letter is completely fluff-free and only talks about things that they absolutely need to know. The way I see it, a good cover letter invokes an emotion. Now that emotion could be pleasure because they're seeing something in your cover letter that they really like, they probably can relate with, or something that just makes them happy. Or it could be intrigue because they've seen something in your cover letter that has interested them and now they want to know more about you. Or it just could be optimism because they've gone through your cover letter and they feel absolutely great because you look like you're the right candidate, which means they've done their job, right? So a good cover letter brings out these emotions in the recruiter after they've gone through it. A good cover letter also forces the recruiter to, in some ways, gauge your personality or assign a personality to you basis your cover letter. For instance, some roles require you to be witty, some roles require to be data oriented, some roles require you to be extremely driven. It depends on the type of role you're applying for. So when you write out your cover letter, you honestly want to bring out the emotion that your role would require. For instance, if I were a recruiter, I'm not sure if I would be looking for a witty cover letter if I'm hiring for the role of an accountant, if you get what I mean, right? But if I were hiring for a creative writer, oh well, absolutely, I would love a witty cover letter. Now, when you're writing out a cover letter, what not to do is probably just as important as what to do. So let's start. Don't use this as an opportunity to introduce yourself. The biggest mistake a lot of people make is to use your cover letter to keep introducing yourself and telling the recruiter a lot of finer details, but let's be very honest, the recruiter is not looking for that information. All of that information should be available in your resume anyway, right? The recruiter is looking for an idea of who you are and what you've accomplished. When you start off with introducing yourself with mundane details, what you are doing is wasting precious time. And all you have is a bunch of seconds on your side, which is when they glance through your cover letter, right? And you don't want to spend it on those useless information. What you need to be doing when you open your cover letter is to find a way to hard sell yourself. And the second thing not to do is don't plead your case. As brutal as it may sound, the recruiter is not interested in why you want this job or what financial difficulties you're going through or what issues you face, which is why you need this job. This doesn't matter to them because they don't know you personally. They're doing their job just like you are, right? So all of these details are not going to help your case. What the recruiter wants to hear is how you are a good fit for this job. That's it. So instead, let's talk about what you should do, what you should include in your resume. For starters, start with something sticky. You need to start with the right hook, which means you need to open your cover letter with something extremely sticky. And it could be something relatable or something very interesting or basically something that sets you apart. This first paragraph is going to make or break your entire cover letter. It's going to be the deciding factor in whether the recruiter decides to read the rest of your cover letter or not. So make sure it is strong. Now, the second thing is you need to highlight your relevant experience, not your experience. Relevant to this role only. If you've spent X number of years doing something else which isn't really related to this role, it probably would be best for you to not mention it here at all. It can go into your resume, but you don't need to call it out here. What you need to do is highlight the experience you've had in respect to this job and how that relevance can make you an asset to this company. But before I move ahead, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a really good time to do it. So click the subscribe button now and click on the bell icon for notifications. Now, something very important in this step is to mention keywords. In a lot of cases, a lot of software tools run through resumes and cover letters looking for keywords, and when they find relevant keywords, they then bring that CV and that cover letter to the attention of the recruiter. So if you aren't mentioning the important keywords, you're probably going to miss out. If you don't know what the keywords are for your specific role, an easy way to do it would be to go back and look at the job description that the recruiter had posted and look for specific keywords that you think that might be interested in and keywords that are relevant to this application and the position that you're applying for. And another thing I would highly recommend you do is, if you are mentioning the keywords in your cover letter, I would strongly recommend that you probably highlight them in some way, you make them bold or something like that, so that even if the recruiter decides to just skim through your cover letter, they see the important keywords, they see that they're there, and they probably are then interested, or they use that as an opportunity to think that you're a good fit and then read your resume. Tell me in the comments section below which of these tips you are already using and which of these tips you plan on using going ahead in your cover letter. The next thing you need to do is reinforce in your closing statement. When you're closing your cover letter or when you're ending your cover letter, remember to reinforce your best skill set or your strongest asset in relation to this job, because let's be very honest, they're going through hundreds of profiles, right? You want to use every opportunity at your disposal to stand out. So remember to close strong as well. The next thing I would do is customize every single cover letter I send out. So one of the mistakes I made early on in my career was just have one cover letter and change the name of the recruiter and the name of the position while opening and just apply. Let me tell you, that gets you nowhere. If you want a real shot of the job you're applying for, remember that you have to customize and tailor make every single cover letter that you send out based on the job you are applying. It would mean a few extra minutes or a few extra hours, but you get one shot, so you better make it worth it. The other thing I would recommend is to use an interesting template. Now, when I say an interesting template, it's very important that you keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it, but you absolutely want to make sure that it stands out in some way. While you are doing this, you can use accents, you can use colors, you can use an interesting format. But remember, the important thing is to make sure it still looks formal at the end of the day. Now, if you need help creating that cover letter, you can head over to the description and click on the link, and you should find a template that you can download and use for yourself. Remember, you have to make the additions, you have to make the customization to make it work for you. Tweak whatever is necessary, but you can use it as an overall structure to help you get there. So now that you've written out your entire cover letter, go over your cover letter once and ask yourself what emotion you feel at the end of reading it. If it's not the emotion you were hoping for, scrap it and start again, because like I've said, you just get one shot at doing this with every company, so it's probably worth it. So that helps you with your cover letter. But here's the thing, if you need help building that perfect CV, which is honestly what's probably going to get your foot into the door, you can watch this video, which gives you all the details.